Glidden, and if you listen closely enough, you can hear the sound of MDs backing up all across the country. In the Saturday Evening Post this month, cholesterol myths busted. We're looking at cholesterol in a whole new light. The pretty lengthy article, it's a 4-page article in the Saturday Evening Post. I alluded to it yesterday. You can check it out online. You can look at the article for free. I'll post a link to it on my website. Here is the long and the short of it. In other words, I'm quoting here, in other words, cholesterol levels are not as strongly predictive of cardiovascular disease as once thought. This has shocked everyone. Cholesterol levels are actually a fairly weak predictor of who will have a heart attack, and that's news to you? It's not news to me. It's not news to my colleagues. It's not news to Ufi Ravenskov, who's an MD, a Russian MD. He has an entire website devoted to this, and I'll also post a link for that on my website at the end of the show. I'm going to just read from you a couple of real studies on cholesterol real quick. More than 20 studies have shown that people who have had a heart attack haven't eaten more fat of any other kind, and the degree of cloggedness of the arteries, that's a medical term, at autopsy is unrelated to fat intake. People with low cholesterol become just as atherosclerotic, have just as many clogged arteries as people whose cholesterol is high. A study done at the University Hospital in Toronto looked at 120 men who had previously had a heart attack. The study showed that men with high cholesterol or low cholesterol were equally likely to have a second heart attack. Another Canadian study followed 5,000 men for 12 years, could not find a link between high cholesterol and a heart attack. But here's the mother. The Honolulu Heart Program was published in 2001. That's 11 years ago, folks. It looked at more than 8,000 individuals and made this statement. Long-term persistence of low cholesterol concentration actually increases the risk of death. Thus, the earlier the patient starts to have low cholesterol concentrations, the greater the risk of death. And this is news. This is, earth-shattering new news that's published in the Saturday Evening Post. No, it's not new. It's new to you. It's new to the MDs. Why is it new to the MDs? Because they are mostly incompetent, and I'm choosing my words carefully. I've known about this research for 11 years. Why haven't they? It's published. It's their job, is it not, to pay attention to the trends, to read the research, to stay on top of their game? Isn't that their job? It is. But the statin drug companies and statin drugs, cholesterol-lowering drugs, are the largest selling prescription drugs in the world right now. They sell more statin drugs than any other type of drug. And the pharmaceutical companies spend $50,000 per doctor per year in PR. So the doctors aren't reading the research. They're not taking the time to do that. They're not subscribing to the medical journals. They're not staying up with their game. They're listening to the pharmaceutical rep, thinking that they're going to get the straight skinny from the pharmaceutical rep. Well, guess what? They've been lied to. They've been mismanaged. They've been appropriated. They've been fed fuzzy information. It's the best way to put it. And they've bought it hook, line, and sinker, and they've hurt you in the process. It is our contention that Alzheimer's disease is due to cholesterol drugs, cholesterol-lowering drugs, because 95% of the part of the brain that's affected by Alzheimer's disease is made from cholesterol. What do statin drugs do? They lower cholesterol. And if you look at the incidence of Alzheimer's historically, it parallels the use of statin drugs, the generation and the use of statin drugs in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go to your MD. I have a better way to put it. Fire your MD now, because they do not know what they are talking about, and their profession has been completely corrupted by the pharmaceutical industry over the last 50 years in the United States. You're taking your life into your hand when you frequent the MD's office. Now, we have with us on the line, I believe, Mr. Benny Simmons, who's a longevity representative, a longtime supporter of medical nutrition, calling in from Indianapolis or someplace in Indiana. Benny, are you there? Hello, Benny. Maybe no Benny.
Yes.
There you are. Hello, Benny. Thanks for calling. How you doing?
Fine. How you doing, sir?
Very good. I appreciate your calling into the show. Now, one thing that I want to talk about today is the relationship between the Longevity Company founded by Dr. Wallach and the African American community in the United States, because the Longevity Company is big friends with the African Americans in this country. I want to underline this point. I'd like you to share your experience about that in about 7 minutes here.
Well, I've been involved in longevity for 6 years, and I've seen remarkable things happen through the nutritional products. I've seen 70-year-old men walk into my meetings, have meetings every Thursday, and bend over, and in 3 months they're walking straight as an arrow. I've got a father who's 88 years old who I had to go through his refrigerator and get rid of all the margarine and the pop and get him to eat a lot of eggs and so on, and he got on the Healthy Start on nutritional products. And my dad, who was 88, walks and runs 3 miles 5 days a week.
At 88 years of age.
At 88 years old.
No more bad knees, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And talk about knees. Andrew Young, former mayor of Atlanta, he was worked under Jimmy Carter, was standing on the balcony when Martin Luther King got killed. Through Dr. Wallach's products, we were able to save his knees. He got rid of his knees instead of plastic knees. And
that's pretty great. What about Martin Luther King III?
He had sugar diabetes type 2 and high blood pressure in 3 months gone.
Sugar diabetes type 2 and high blood pressure went on the nutritional products in 3 months. Both of the conditions resolved 100%. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what about his mother, Coretta Scott King?
Well, we helped her with the products, and she was doing better, but eventually she succumbed to illness, and eventually she passed away. But she lived quite a long time because of Doc's products.
Yeah, and she was able to march in the Million Man March because of Dr. Wallach's products, when a few months previous to that event, her arthritis was so bad she could barely walk across the room. Is that correct?
That is correct. Vander Holyfield, who was a boxer, the commission said that he had heart problems, couldn't find anymore. And Andrew Young, who lived across the street from him, went and said, hey, look, why don't you try these products? Dr. Wallach went to his house, sat in his living room, told him what to do. And about 6 months later, the commission passed him as his heart problem was no more. And that's when he had those 3 bullfights.
What about Theo Ratliff, old Theo Ratliff?
Theo Ratliff, I think about 2001, 2002. He's always been in pain. He was second leading shot blocker in the NCAA next to Alonzo Mourning. And eventually he just succumbed to bone problems, cracked kneecap, 2 bad knees, 2 bad ankles, 3 bad vertebrae, operation on his shoulder, no cartilage in his hip, broke his wrist, and had a screw in his wrist. In 3 months, we were able to put his body back together, and for the next 3 years, he had no problems in the NBA, was able to get about $140 million worth of contract because of us.
So his orthopedic doctors, the sports doctors, told him he was done. He had bad hips, bad knees, bad ankles, had a screw in his wrist. Dr. Wallach visited him, said, Theo, look, stop eating these foods, start eating these foods, take these nutritional supplements, and rebuilt his joints to the tune of about $140 extra million in NBA contracts. Not bad, right?
That's true. Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Yeah, this is the great power of medical nutrition, ladies and gentlemen. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm going to say it every day on this radio program. You have no idea of the power of science-based, clinically verified nutrition to help you recover your health. We've helped very famous people. Martin Luther King III, Coretta Scott King, Vander Holyfield. Nelson Mandela, by the way, is as healthy as he is, as old as he is, because Andy Young from Atlanta was sending Nelson Dr. Wallach's nutritional supplements while Nelson Mandela was in prison in South Africa, for goodness sake. It's remarkable, don't you think, Benny, that not more people know about this. It blows my mind every day when I wake up and I think about how many people are suffering needlessly in the world.
And your book, The Emperor MD Has No Clothes?
Yeah.
And your CD, Who Made MD King? I think everybody in the world should read your book and listen to your CD.
Well, I do too. I'm in complete agreement with you there. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, you can buy a copy of each. I did not pay Benny to say this. We're doing this right off the cuff here. You can buy a copy of each at my website, fireyourmdnow.com. And for the month of May, when you purchase the books or the CDs, if you type in the little coupon box that'll pop up on checkout, the word healthy, HEALTHY, all in lowercase, you're going to get $5 off the cost of the book. It's a pretty good deal. So, Benny, you've been with the company for 6 years now, and let's talk real quickly. We have a minute and a half left here about the business opportunity and what you've seen.
Well, first, I'd like to say this. The cost of longevity products making people well, I'm committed to this product whether I make money or not. But as a consolation, I have made money. And with some of the new compensations that longevity have presented, we can make thousands of dollars per month. So I would urge people to find out how they can get involved in the business. We are in an economic downturn, but we don't have to be. There's things that we can do where we can make money.
Yeah, it's really pretty great, and it's a real user-friendly, right? Because the get your feet wet business opportunity in the longevity company, it's $10. I mean, it's $10. Who can't afford $10 to give it a try? I mean, it's really fantastic. Benny, we're all out of time. I appreciate your call. I appreciate your stand for medical nutrition. And ladies and gentlemen, one of the days that my head exploded was the day that I first met Benny. It was at a lecture by Dr. Wallach in Kankakee, Illinois. I was in a room with Benny Simmons and about 10 other African Americans, all of whom had helped more people recover their health than I had. My head exploded. I'll tell you in the next segment a little more about that story about how my head exploded. It was my very first experience with, not my first, but my first formal experience with Dr. Wallach. It's a pretty fun story. We'll talk about that at the top of the next segment. But right now, we're going to go right to the phones. Bunny, who called me yesterday, wants to know a little bit more. Welcome back, Bunny.
Hi. Thanks again for taking my call.
Yeah.
I listened to your webinar last night, and it was great. And anyway, so I was calling you back because I wanted to just kind of, find out exactly what I need to take for my issues and then share some of what I'm already doing, if that's okay.
Okay, great. So first I need to know your body weight.
I'm 130 pounds and I'm 5'5".
All right, 130 pounds. And what are your health concerns?
Well, I think I have an issue with fat malabsorption, possibly a digestive issue. I used to eat a lot of grains, but I stopped like a while ago, but my skin is dry, and I have some of these little bumps on my forearms, and they're really itchy almost every day. And I have this arthritis thing in my neck, probably my knees. I used to be a runner, and I have that tendon issue on my right shoulder blade. That entire tendon that wraps around that area it aches every day.
Yep.
And anyway, and the things that I'm already doing to alleviate a lot of my health problems, I shop at my local farm. I don't go to the grocery store anymore, and I drink pure whey protein from the cows. I do 4 to 6 raw eggs a day, organic, and raw milk. I take Udo's oil, I ground in my flaxseed bee pollen and lecithin, and that's like the bulk of my diet. I kind of really don't have an appetite for other foods, so I haven't really been eating anything else.
Okay, good girl. And you're 100% gluten-free now?
Yes.
Okay, you have to do that. If you're not gluten-free, this is not going to work, so good girl.
Right.
And I don't even want you looking at fried food, right?
Oh, God, no. I haven't done fried food in years.
Okay, very good. And I want to make a distinction for the listening audience. Ladies and gentlemen, it is perfectly okay to cook whatever you want in a fry pan with butter or lard. Because the problem with frying is the intense heat that's generated and also the oil. So you can't cook something with butter or lard on a high temperature, because if you do, it starts smoking and, you have to turn the stuff off. So we're okay with cooking a piece of fish or whatever you want in butter or lard in a fry pan, no problem. Okay. So here's the deal, Bunny. You could be eating the best diet in the world. You could get a PhD in organic farming. You could buy 100 acres of pristine farmland in Switzerland on top of a mountain that's the least polluted place on the planet. You could eat only the food that you grew, and you would still have all of the health concerns that you're bothered by now. Because the problem with chronic illness, you've got a right tendon problem in your shoulder, you've got arthritis in the knees, you've got bumps on the skin, you've got dry skin, some type of GI thing going on here. These things happen not because you have a bad gene, not because you're getting older, but because your skin and your joints and your bones and your gut have run out of the raw materials they need to keep themselves healthy. That's the only reason things break down. There are extreme examples, from trauma. You drop a rock on your foot. I don't care how many vitamins you have in your body. Something's going to break. But for stuff like this, it's not a function of what you eat. Now, eating a good, clean diet is half of the battle, but no matter how good and clean the diet is, unless there are the raw materials imported into your system every day with vitamins and minerals, you're going to lose, because your body just cannot get what it needs to keep itself healthy from food. So here's what I would recommend at 130 pounds. First of all, anybody who's eating raw eggs, you have to do vitamin B. Be like baby. Do a vitamin B complex, because your body cannot digest the raw egg without vitamin B. So if you're going to do raw eggs, make sure you're taking a vitamin B complex daily, okay? So what I would start with, Bunny, for 2 months is 1 healthy start pack, 2 bottles of glucogel at the 240 count, 2 bottles of Ultimate Selenium, 2 bottles of liquid plant minerals, and 1 extra bottle of Cal Toddy. It's a liquid calcium supplement called Cal Toddy, okay? So 1 healthy start pack, 2 bottles of liquid plant minerals, 1 bottle of Cal Toddy, 2 bottles of glucogel 240, and 2 ultimate selenium. Do that every month for 2 months and call me back. A couple things I'd like to underline about a conversation with Bunny. Number one, it's common for us to think in this culture, we've got a number of different things wrong, right? I've got shoulder pain, I've got knee pain, I've got bumps on my skin, I've got a gut problem, I've got a coated tongue, and I have insomnia, right? Now, what we're used to in this country is going to the MD and going to see the tongue specialist and the gut specialist and the knee specialist and the shoulder specialist and the skin specialist, right? And we get 1 set of medicines from each of those people. And if it's a talented, quote-unquote, general practitioner, they're going to give you 1 treatment for each part of the body. Because from the reductionistic MD peculiar point of view, the body is a machine made of parts, and when you're sick, it's the doctor's job, the MD's job, the allopathic drug doctor's job, to give you 1 medicine for each piece, because nothing's connected, and you need a medicine for your heartburn, a medicine for your arthritis, a medicine for your insomnia, etc. This is what we're used to. And holistic medicine is different. And so when I tell people who have 6 or 7 different health conditions, you just need to do this 1 nutritional program, everybody's head kind of spins around a little bit, and they think to themselves, well, what the heck? Why am I not getting more than this? Well, you're not, because you don't need it, because from the holistic vantage point, everything is connected. And this is an interesting thing to talk about when we're talking about joints and skin, because those 2 tissues of the body are both high in sulfur-bearing molecules. And so when we give a joint recovery program, a science-based, clinically verified program that supports and promotes the health of joints, well, guess what? It automatically supports and promotes the health of skin and any connective tissue anywhere in the body, because everything is connected. So this is why we do what we do, and this is kind of the rationale that informs what we do, and it's comprehensive, it's holistic, and it is fantastic. Again, if you had any idea of the power of medical nutrition holistically applied medical nutrition as delivered by licensed naturopathic physicians, I'd get up tomorrow morning and there'd be about 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 people lined up in my driveway waiting for an appointment. That's how good it is, ladies and gentlemen. Now, another thing before I tell you about the day my head exploded, Bunny alluded to a webinar that I did last night. I do 2 webinars a week, more or less. Sometimes I skip Wednesdays. We do a 1 webinar every Monday night and 3 webinars, one webinar every Wednesday night. 3 Wednesdays out of the month is what I'm trying to say, and every Monday. The Wednesday night webinars are on different health topics. You know, we'll talk about arthritis. We'll talk about type 2 diabetes. We'll talk about good food, bad food. Talk about fibromyalgia. Talk about birth defects. Talk about infertility. Talk about many different things. Talk about pesticides and environmental toxicity and what to do for it. We talk about a lot of stuff all the time by way of educating you in the science-based, clinically verified application of nutrition so that you can help yourself get healthy. You don't need to hire Dr. Glidden. You don't need to go hire your naturopathic doctor. You certainly don't need to go to your MD. For most chronic health conditions, you can help your body help itself. Now, if you want to, you can call and schedule an appointment with me. I take about 100, 150 new people a year. That's all I have time for. And I have a very comprehensive 13-week health recovery program. It's the best health recovery program in the United States right now. I will hold your hand for 13 weeks and tell you everything there is to know about how to recover your health and then how to maintain it. It's a comprehensive program. You can check it out at fireyourmd.com. But, you know, that's 150 people that I have the time for. There's 300 million suffering people in this country. What you need to do, what I encourage people to do, is purchase a subscription to the webinar. For goodness sake, it's $5 a month. $50 a year. You buy a year's subscription, I'll give you 2 free months. $50 a year. And not only will you have access to the live webinars, but you'll also have access to all of the recorded webinars. So it's not like, you know, you can only get this information on Monday night or Wednesday night. We record the stuff and post it. You can watch it 24/7 if you want. And this is state-of-the-art medical nutrition. There's nothing else like this in the world. This is medical education, the holistic medical education par excellence. One of my talents, I'm going to toot my own horn here, one of my talents is being able to take complicated, you know, medical theory and information and distill it down into concepts that anybody can understand. If you can pass the driver's license test, you're going to benefit from these health webinars. Bunny did. She loved it. So check it out. Go to fireyourmdnow.com. Cancel your comprehensive medical insurance, for goodness sake. You don't need it. Go to the webinar instead. Get informed about what you can actually do today to increase your survivorship by catastrophic health insurance instead, and use the money that you're going to save every month to buy your nutritional supplements. This is a much better health insurance policy. Because when you buy medical insurance, right, you're rolling the dice. You're betting. You're going to get so darn sick you won't be able to afford it. That's what health insurance is. Now, it's better rather than just hoping against hope that you don't get sick, or hoping against hope that when you do get sick, your drug-dealing, scalpel-wielding MD is going to know what's best for you. Guess what? They don't. They know what's best for you most of the time when there's trauma. And that's when we recommend people go and see him. But for everything else, man, it is a fool's errand. Check us out. You don't know what you're missing. I want you to know what you're missing. FireYourMDNow.com. Purchase a subscription. Or, you know, if you really need one-on-one attention, schedule a 13-week health recovery protocol. But you have to convince me that you're a candidate. I just don't take anybody. I've only got time for 100, 150 people a year. There's no nonsense here. If you're suffering with a chronic health condition, you convince me that you're a candidate for this program, we're all in. Now, here's what I wanted to tell you before. This was a revelation for me. I've been, you know, this was 3 years ago, so I had 17 or 18 years of clinical experience as a licensed naturopathic physician. And the naturopathic medical community is rather small. You know, we all know everybody. Back in the day, there were less than 1,000 licensed naturopathic doctors in the entire country. There's about 4,500 right now. So everybody knew everybody. I'd always known about Dr. Wallach, but all I knew about Dr. Wallach was he was a short little guy from the Midwest who had a vitamin company and a networked business. And because I was an arrogant doctor, had my head up my you-know-what, I didn't want anything to do with anybody that had a networked business. I didn't even know what network marketing was, but I knew I didn't want anything to do with that because I was a doctor. So, you know, I was cordial to Dr. Wallach and, you know, always talked to him. I'd pass him at the conferences and, you know, you'd see him around. And we always, you know, traded hellos and how are yous and like that. But that was the long and the short of our relationship. And then when the economy crashed 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that, I'm at a medical conference. I think it was in Seattle. I think it was a medical conference in Seattle, if memory serves. And Dr. Wallach was there because, you know, we both need continuing education credits. And Doc walks by me in the hallway, and we say our usual hello, how are yous? And he walks about 10, 20 feet past me. He stops. He turns around. He comes back, and I was sitting down in a chair, and he bends over and looks at me and says, Doc, you know, multiple streams of income are a smart idea in an economy like this. And then he turned around and walked away. And I thought to myself, what is he talking about? And then a little light went off in my head, and I wanted to know more. So I chased him down, and he said, look, you live in Chicago now, right? I said, yeah. He said, well, about an hour south of you in a little farm town called Kankakee, in a couple of weekends, I'm giving a free public lecture. I want you to come to that lecture and see what it is that I do. I said, all right, I'm all in. You know, I like road trips. I'm all in. An hour away, no problem. So 2 weeks later, I jump in my car, and I drive outside of, you know, Chicago City proper, and then now I'm in farmland, and I'm driving down south, and, you know, it gets more and more and more urban, and finally I pull into Kankakee, and this little, you know, like what are those small hotels called? I'm drawing a blank. In any event, it's a small motel on the side of the road, right? One of those areas where there's like the Stay Inn or something like that, or the DoubleTree, right? So I pull in to the hotel, I park the car, and I go into the room where Dr. Wallach is holding a free public lecture. The room holds, I don't know, maybe 150 people. There's about 30 people there, most of whom are African American, most of whom are from Indiana, and probably half of whom had only had a high school education. And all of whom had helped more people to recover their health in their lives than I had as a licensed naturopathic physician. When I started hearing the testimonials that that group of people had, and when I started counting the numbers and seeing how many people in their communities they had helped, my head exploded. And that's when I really got what Dr. Wallach was up to. Because as God is my witness, healing is easy. Surgery is difficult. Healing is easy. It is easier than falling off a tomato truck to learn Dr. Wallach's simple, science-based, clinically verified, safe and effective health recovery protocols. Anybody can do it. And this is why he formed his company as a network business. Think about it. Wallach doesn't make any money from the sale of these vitamins. Zero. He removed himself from that revenue stream. He could have sold his stuff through GNC. He could have sold his stuff on the Home Shopping Network. He could have developed a line of physician-only nutrients. He didn't. He decided on purpose to set his company up years ago as a network business, when network business wasn't such a sexy term. He decided to do that on purpose. He decided to roll those dice. Why? Because he wanted to save America. He knew that he could do it. He knew how to help people recover their health. He knew how to support and promote healthy blood sugar, how to support and promote healthy joints, how to support and promote healthy livers and skin and kidneys and healthy sleep patterns. He knew how to do it. If you did $25 million of federally funded research over the course of 12 years, 10 million blood chemistries and histopathologies, 26,000 autopsies, you'd have a clue also. He knew how to do it, and so what did he do? Did he form his own vitamin company or sell the stuff on the Home Shopping Network like Andrew Lessing? No. He set Youngevity up as a networked business on purpose so that anybody can join. $10. Join us. $10. Join us. And we will teach you for free Dr. Wallach's health recovery methods. Health recovery through medical nutrition. This is it, folks. We are building a grassroots coalition of the informed. Your MD is not the go-to person for health recovery. They do not practice health care. They practice disease management. Your brothers and sisters and husbands and wives and church members and community members are suffering for lack of knowledge only. Guess what? We've got the knowledge. We need your help. Join our cause. Please. Go to fireyourmdnow.com and click on the little Join Us button up in the menu bar. Follow the links. Give us $10 and a tax ID number, and I will take you under my wing and help you make a difference in your life. God only knows we need it. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden, coming back when we can. For about 17 cents a day, 16.5 cents a day, you can have access to state-of-the-art, cutting-edge health recovery information, which will allow you to teach yourself how to recover your health, which will enable you to cancel your comprehensive medical insurance, purchase catastrophic health insurance instead, and use the difference to purchase Youngevity, high-quality nutritional supplements every day, every month. You purchase them once a month. We'll even ship them to you for free. Ship them to you for free, and we'll sell them to you at the wholesale price. Well, how does it get any better than that? Well, guess what? It doesn't get any better than that. There are 278 illnesses caused by not enough calcium. 278. Things like vertigo and ringing in the ears and high blood pressure and chronic menstrual cramps, low back pain, muscle twitches, all types of arthritis. These are insomnia, anxiety and panic attacks. Have insomnia? Have anxiety and panic attacks? You've got a calcium deficiency. Have kidney stones? You've got a calcium deficiency. I'd like to talk about that for a little minute because your medical doctor has that one completely backwards. Your medical doctor will tell you that when they see somebody with kidney stones, they'll draw blood, and invariably the serum blood calcium levels are high. So therefore, in their little pea brains, remember, MDs have no training in medical nutrition. And quite frankly, this is elementary freshman year stuff. Every doctor should know this, but none of them do, unless you're a naturopathic doctor. Here's the rundown. Here's how it goes. When you have chronic low levels of calcium, there's a little gland on the side of your thyroid gland. It's called the parathyroid gland. Stands for the side of the thyroid. Remember, anatomy people aren't the most creative people in the world. Parathyroid gland, right? Well, that's because it lives on the side of the thyroid gland. Secretes a hormone. When your calcium levels are low, it secretes a hormone which sucks calcium out of your bones, which is where you've got a lot of calcium in your bones. So it sucks the calcium out of your bones and out of your joints and floods the blood with it in order to raise the blood levels of calcium. But if you drop a rock on your foot and you do not put ice on it, the swelling that rock trauma can engender can become out of control. That's why you need to ice an injury. Because there are certain things that the body doesn't have dialed in 100%, and swelling post-trauma is one of them. So you need to ice blunt trauma blow to the body. You need to do that in order to knock down the swelling, because a little bit of swelling is healing, but too much swelling is not. So you have to help the body in that regard. Well, guess what? The body doesn't have it completely right with its calcium metabolism either, because if you have low levels of calcium, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, over and over and over again, your little parathyroid gland says, screw it. And it dumps all of its hormone into the blood all of the time, which causes massive amounts of calcium to be withdrawn from your bones. Massive amounts, I mean massive amounts, travels through your bone, through your blood, and then goes into the kidney, because that's where your blood goes. And all of that calcium going through that filter clogs the filter. That's how you get a calcium stone, a kidney stone. Over 90% of kidney stones are calcium oxalate. They're caused by too much calcium, which is caused by chronic levels of low calcium. Your MD doesn't even smart enough to know this. So if you have a kidney stone, you therefore have a de facto definitive diagnosis of chronic calcium deficiencies. That's what causes them. And your MD will tell you, oh, you have too much calcium. Well, they're a knucklehead. That's why I encourage everybody to fire your MD now. Get it? Is the light starting to break? They've got it completely backwards for most things. They were wrong about cholesterol. They were wrong about stomach acid. They're wrong about kidney stones. They're wrong about type 2 diabetes. What next? Well, don't wait around to find out what next. Take your health into your own hands. It is the only thing that's going to help you, ladies and gentlemen. If you sat behind my desk for even a week, you'd be horrified at the status quo of medicine in the United States. Listen, knowledge is power, and consider me the blue pill to help you pop out of the matrix and actually get a handle on what you can do to recover your health. Thank you so much for dialing in. Thank you so much for listening. Go to my website, check it out, get informed. Knowledge is power. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. I'll see you tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel. Talk to you then.